Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's already quite late on the first day, so we're really glad that you stuck around. We are from the T-Rex team. I will let my colleagues introduce themselves, but I'll start. My name is Drishti. I'm from the global sustainability team at Adidas, which was one of the partners on the T-Rex project, which we'll tell you about in a moment. I'll give it to Daniela.
Hi, I'm Daniela. I'm marketing manager for Fulgar. Fulgar is a polyamide spinner in Italy. We are in the last decades focused on innovation and also in a production of yarns in a responsible way. And here you do not see supplier and customer, you see partners.
Yeah, my name is Tobias. I work at BASF. It's a chemical company based in, headquartered in Germany. And we produce conventional polyamide 6 and 6/6, but also recently we have invented and also commercialized now chemical recycling technology for polyamide 6 called Lupamid.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, so you guys might be wondering what the heck is T-Rex. I make this joke every session, so if you've heard it, I apologize, but it's my favorite. We're not recreating Jurassic Park, don't worry. It's nothing to do with dinosaurs. T-Rex stands for Textile Recycling Excellence. So it's exactly as the title says, to create a blueprint for a circular textile ecosystem within the EU. And T-Rex was a EU publicly funded research project. It lasted 3 years, and I say it was, or in the past tense, because it has completed already. It concluded in May of 2025, so earlier this year. The real purpose of T-Rex was to show if household textile waste, so post-consumer textile waste, can become desired feedstock for textile-to-textile recycling, specifically advanced chemical recycling. And within the project, we were 13 partners, all displayed in the loop up there, and I will talk through that in a minute, to really show that, if we bring all the key players along the value chain that is needed, can we unlock or can we create a circular value chain? And so we had a couple of goals or aims that we wanted to accomplish, and I think we did, which was firstly, what constitutes a roadblock today? What is stopping a circular textile value chain from existing? Identifying those and then finding solutions for them. Also, can chemical recycling be a business model that is both environmentally and economically viable? And thirdly, can this model be scaled? Is this something that makes sense commercially? And so what we accomplished through the project, which started at the collection and sorting stage, specifically in France and Spain, with Veolia acting as a waste manager there, we were able to get the household textile feedstock that we wanted. Then the amazing recyclers like BASF, but we also have Cure in the audience and Infinite Fiber Company for polyester, polyamide, and cotton waste streams to help us break down this and really do the recycling. Then we had some amazing spinners, Fulgur for polyamide, but also Indorama and Linz Textiles to help us bring this into reality. And then Adidas was not only the project coordinator and leader, but we also designed some samples, which we do have here with us. We will show you in a minute. And based off also our learnings, we created some guidelines for design. Additionally, we also conducted an LCA, a life cycle assessment, and a techno-economic assessment. So we had some data partners like Arpaha, Qantas, Aalto University, and Fashion for Good part of the project. And I think it was really exciting to bring a project of this scale with every key player from the value chain participating in it to really try to uncover if we can find all the aspects from technical to data to also some of the strategic and political roadblocks or opportunities with unlocking this system. I lost my clicker somewhere. Oops. Sorry. Lots of things. So, as I said, we have finished the project, and our aim was to create a blueprint. Now, this loop might look very similar to the loop on the previous page, but hopefully you spot one difference, which is right at the bottom, there's a new level of pre-processing, which wasn't in our initial hypothesis. When we started the project, we thought that, textile waste can flow directly from collection and sorting into the recycling. But as the project went on for the 3 years, we realized that there's a key piece of the value chain that was not highlighted or not there at all. And I think this really helped us understand maybe some of the challenges that the industry had been facing, and also understand that the value chain is much more complex than we realized. This was even further complicated between polyester and polyamide and cotton. All three were chosen because they're the main materials in our industry, but they each have their own challenges that they also need to go through. And with that, we also were able to try and collect as much primary data from each step of the value chain towards that TEA and LCA deliverable that we had. Of course, it wasn't perfect and it wasn't always possible, but we did the best. And based off of this, we were also able to give some feedback into upcoming legislation within the EU, specifically the ESPR, the Eco Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, and the Waste Framework Directive conversations going on. There's a ball that just rolled over. So we do have a couple of, several reports that are available already. If we had been speaking, I think 6 months ago, we would have been like, the learnings are coming soon, we promise. No, we finally are able to say the learnings are out there. As I said, we have the LCA, the TEA. Additionally, we had a report assessing the digital needs and solutions for unlocking the circular value chain. There was also a study on the citizens' engagement, so consumer behaviors and awareness conducted by Aalto University. And lastly, we had the technical guidelines for design to really understand what is the role of design for the future of recycling. And then the lovely picture on the right for you guys, of the demonstrator products, which is what we have. So the black kit is the polyester. This is a football tricot. Woohoo! The pink are the polyamide. This is the one by BASF. It's also at their booth. Over there, I don't know the number, A03. And then the blue are the cotton infinite fiber, so that's a viscose material. So if you would like to touch and feel, because I know everyone here is technical, we're happy to distribute them around the audience, but hopefully you continue paying attention to us as well. There we go. So, hopefully that gives you a good intro onto what the T-Rex project was and why we're here to talk about it. But I wanted to really help, understand what were the learnings in a detailed way. So if we start with maybe the technical side of the project, what were some of the lessons or some of the impact areas that we uncovered from the innovation side or from your own businesses that you didn't know 3 years ago? Do you want to start?
Yeah, maybe I can start. So BASF performed the chemical recycling for polyamide. And for us, this was, let's say, a stress test for our process. And we managed. And we have then created, let's say, a garment made 100% from post-consumer textile waste collected, sorted and pre-processed in Europe. And that was quite an achievement because we do have a plant now up and running. And due to feedstock availability, we will not be able to run it now with 100% post-consumer waste. But for this specific project, we did it. And it really was a successful proof of concept for the technology. And what you also mentioned earlier, we added the pre-processing step into the cycle, and I think it's really important to have it added there. We did find a lot of, let's say, new learnings and insights about pre-processing. I think it was one of the more valuable parts of the project because we tested several technologies for shredding, for example, for disruptor removal, and for agglomeration, and we performed a benchmark, not comprehensive across 20 different companies, but 4 or 5 different ones were tested. And this really helped us also in setting up our inbound supply chain for feedstock processing.
From my side, I'd like to add that the main learning is possible to do it. So for us, it was, for the team was very, very excited, because 30 years ago when I started working with polyamide, I couldn't even imagine having one technology like this. So we proved, and it's possible to do it. So this is the future. And also we confirmed that the quality and performance are crucial. So recycled, but not with the good quality we do not want. So together with BASF, we can offer a good quality of these polymers, these yarns, and the performance is the same. In Fulgar, we have also a mechanical recycling product, and I can confirm the quality is not the same. So the recycling process developed by BASF is good for any kind of application of polyamide.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it already, Tobias, on the pre-processing, but I think we did also understand that there are still efficiency gains that can be made and further development, right? And I think through the project as well, we were able to already make those. We had 2 rounds of collections and sorting, and then consequently 2 rounds of the recycling. And even the transformation from the first to the second was quite dramatic. And through these quick learnings, we were able to identify some gaps that we were able to overcome. But are there any others that you think the industry or you guys will continue working on from this project?
Definitely. I mean, you know, the scale of this project was out of R&D, but let's say on a pilot scale or small commercial scale. I think
it was
that's
a proof of concept, right?
Exactly. It was already quite unique, but now to really commercialize Lupamid or also other chemical recycling technologies for textile waste, I think especially feedstock availability is still an open topic. We have a lot of news and regulation activities on, for example, EPR systems and fees, and I think recently also through the Waste Framework Directive it has now become, let's say, a set that EPR systems have to be established in the EU by 2028. Exactly, thanks. And I think this will help because currently, collection, there are no targets on a national level, sorting. Of course, companies do that if they see an incentive, if we buy the material from them and they maybe have less costs for incineration or landfilling. But still, I think this needs to scale up. Otherwise, a lot of valuable resources still will go into incineration or landfilling because it is the easiest and maybe also cheapest option still.
We welcome you to stay to our happy hour tonight, sponsored by Kingway, starting at 6 p.m.
Okay, I'll be
at
there.
hall
You'll be there.
A1 at the expert talks area with a live feature set, free drinks and snacks.
So
We'll
right
be
after
there.
this, you will get drinks. So make sure to stick around. Daniela, did you want to add anything?
It's the first test that we did. We found some quality problems, issues like yellowing, but together we gave the feedback, the correct feedback. So they, as you said, they quickly solved the issue, and now the challenge is scale up the production. That's because the real problem is the textile waste in the planet. So fishing nets, okay, it's a good solution, but it's not the real problem.
No, because the open loop feedstocks have been kind of, let's say, the intermediate solution, right? It's not where we want to end up. I think we can't move past the technical talk without addressing LCAs and the environmental impact, because I think maybe some of you know, or recently there's been a hot debate of, well, does T2T go against decarbonization? So through the project, we did conduct an LCA. The LCA itself was not publicly disclosed for confidentiality reasons. The methodology was. But I'm curious if, at least from the BASF perspective, if you're able to share or, share if does textile to textile enable or disable climate targets and decarbonization?
It's definitely interlinked. We did our own LCA, which was, let's say, also fed into the Qantas LCA study. And our own LCA projects a mid-scale facility by 2030. And when we compare this with virgin polyamide 6 produced on a global benchmark, we get savings of 70% on the polymer level, because that's our product. We only produce polymer, of 70% in terms of product carbon footprint. And I think that's really significant. We are already in the process of updating now the data with our plant data. And I think, we will get maybe a bit of less reduction because it is a proof of concept plant and not highly optimized, and it's still also small compared to, let's say, world scale facilities. But definitely compared to where the bulk of polyamide 6 is produced in China, where also still a lot of coal is used for energy production, but also partly for chemistry. I think this can achieve definitely CO2 emission savings and also other indicators like resource consumption, water use, and so on.
And on the recycled content side, from the polymer into the fiber, what was it like?
The performance is quite the same if the quality is good enough. We have LCA for all of our products, and they are available for all of our customers and brands. I'm proud of sharing this data. Last year, for example, the conventional polyamide yarn that we produce with BASF polymer compared to average, global polyamide 6.6 average, it's less 25 CO2 emission, the conventional one. So we are proud to share the data, and we believe a lot in this kind of study because it's measurable, and we will do it when they have the number. And we will include, and we will do for our yarns as well.
But I think this is an important message, right? To share that at scale, it is possible to have the two be complementary, the textile to textile with decarbonization. It's not something that, has to be a trade-off, but rather it needs to find the balance. I think we can then move forward to the business side, because I think there's another question that often comes up with textile to textile, which is cost and kind of the core commercialization challenges, and especially as BASF is scaling and into commercial stage. What are some of the challenges that you've overcome, and also what do you still foresee in the future?
Well, so we talk to a lot of brands, and of course costs are important, especially now in the today's economic situation. Currently, we're more expensive, no surprise. I forgot to mention we have a 500 tons plant in China, and this is the one I referred to. And if we were to build a new polyamide 6 production plant now and want to be cost competitive to our Chinese competition, we would have to build a 200 or 300,000 tons plant. So the capacities to be cost competitive nowadays are huge. And I think with recycling or circular economy, you will not achieve the same economies of scale because it's a fundamentally different way to get to your resources, to your raw materials. One is to get oil and gas out of sources which have been optimized technology-wise for decades, hundreds of years. And the other one now is really still emergent, and it requires a lot of effort to actually collect, sort, pre-process waste so we can use it as raw material. And our technology is already quite unique because we don't need to have 100% PA6 content waste, but we can live with 80, and it can contain a lot of impurities like elastane, polyester, cotton, prints, dyes, whatever. So I think there we are already quite robust, but still the raw material we procure is very expensive. And then, of course, it adds our process, and then we come to something that's more expensive than conventional polyamide 6. And I think on the cost side, we also ask regulation for help, for support in the packaging industry. This is now common. We have a dual system in Germany. We have EPR systems in place. We have, I don't know, a few hundreds of euros support for collection, sorting, and sometimes even recycling. And I think if we want to establish a truly circular system for textiles, we need the same support to kickstart and also increase feedstock availability and make it cheaper.
I'd like to add that it's true that the raw material is more expensive. So if the polymer is more expensive, the yarn will be more expensive. But it does not mean that the fabric will be more expensive in the same percentage that the polymer. So have in mind to make the calculation in a helicopter view. Because if you think that is, I'll say any number, 30% more expensive in the polymer, for example, it does not mean that the garment will cost 30% more expensive. Many of you know this, but have in mind all the 360 degrees of the view. Because at the end, I have some customers that they say, but it's more expensive. So no, let me talk to the sustainability team. What, less 25%, less 30% of CO2 emission. So we have to have more wide vision for the sustainable solutions, the more responsible solutions. So it's more expensive, but this is my message for you, okay?
I think that's a really interesting point you just raised, Daniela, on like how, when you have these conversations with the brands you work with, how successful or what is kind of the key point that you drive to then get them to convert to textile content?
All of them are completely interested on having the solution. Some, as everything, some of them I want, it does not matter how much it costs. Some of them that you can have in mind whom does not wants the cheapest technology available. So what I do, my main job is promoting to the brands the technologies and explain not just the claims that they can use, but also the technical part and supporting how to communicate correctly and explain the certifications that we can offer and also the traceability of this technology. So it's a question of want to do it correctly or not to do it. Simple like that. They are interested, but then some goes in that direction, some goes in the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to add that we also need to create value for the brands, right? Because in the end, they need to market this to consumers. And I think this is, so what we do, textile-to-textile recycling, really is a nice story which can be used for consumers to convince people. Maybe it costs a few euros more per garment, but the raw material share is really little. But I think, you know, there's also a period of where the storytelling really kicks in and helps. But at some point of time, and maybe Adidas can also comment, there needs to be also goals, more legislative efforts in mandating recycled content.
I think, and this was the next point we wanted to briefly touch on as well, right? It's also different globally. Like when we look at regulation today and also the T-Rex project, this was very focused in the bubble of EU, but BASF's plant is already in China. And the industry is a global industry, which also means that the consumers are very different around the world, but also the levers or the opportunities and challenges are also very different around the world. And I'm wondering if you can also comment on why did you pick China, or what is the context within that global scenario between being a German company versus operating elsewhere from a cost perspective, but also other commercial perspectives?
Sure. I mean, we are headquartered in Germany, but we're a global company. So we have quite a huge production network also in China across several cities. Yeah, I mean, I have a corporate opinion and a private opinion. And I will just say that You know, there are pros and cons for every side. Of course, we also looked into Europe, but in the end, textile industry is global. So the question is, when does the raw material needs to be shipped to China or Asia? Because this is where a lot of yarn spinning happens, fabric producing, garment manufacturing, and also we are aware that post-consumer feedstock availability is limited, will continue to be limited for some years. So we need a lot of pre-consumer waste, and it's not always, So it was smart to also build the factory where the downstream industry is. And of course, no secret, building a plant and operating a plant in China is less expensive than in Europe, except if you get, of course, public funding. But yeah, these are the considerations that we have.
But I think this is really important, right? Because we do need to scale textile to textile on a global level, but we might need to start with these sort of regional loops that build. So, you know, an EU loop, which might be driven by regulation, but then one in Asia that is driven because that's where bulk of the manufacturing is. And in the future, maybe these loops kind of interlink with each other and become interdependent. I think we've mentioned policy quite a lot, but maybe do we have any learnings from T-Rex that we can translate specifically towards some of the EU legislations, like the eco-design, like the end-of-waste criteria consideration? I think the end-of-waste one also is quite important because it's, can we get waste collected in EU over to other regions? Is the export allowed? Is the import allowed on the other side? And how do we get the conversations to maybe align with each other as well?
True, yeah. I mean, of course, we have a wish list to the policymakers, but I don't want to say, you know, before this happens, we don't move. No, we did the opposite. We build a plant now. We want to validate technology and market, but we still have a wish list. And I think we published this wish list also as a white paper. So it's one of the deliverables we had in the project, and I think it's a very nice summary. As you mentioned, end of waste can be a hurdle also within EU to move product waste to other countries. You know, if I have leftovers in my production recycling process, maybe I can ship it to Cure. That will be problematic if end of waste is not reached. Then, as mentioned, Waste Framework Directive, we need targets on collection and sorting, and also eco-design principles, maybe from the product perspective. Well, you can also comment, what's your view?
Yeah, I think especially we do have the white paper on the policy, but I think our technical guidelines for design was quite important towards the eco-design, because we very clearly found that monomaterial products are good. They definitely enable recycling, but they're not the only way that we can enable recyclability. We really need to support the main material of a product so that it can go into a specific recycling scheme. But with the value chain, there is possibility to also allow demand and durability design considerations to complement recyclability, right? And I think with the eco-design requirements, we want to see this achieved, a balance between how it is today and the monomaterial approach that is sort of seen as the silver bullet.
If I may add, as Tobias said, they put a limit of 80% of polyamide in the garment and 20 of anything else, just because to not producing more waste. So technically speaking, it's possible. We talked 2-3 years ago, we used to talk about monomaterials, as you said. So this is very step ahead. Mm-hmm. And also we can find today zippers in polyamide, the swing threads in polyamide. So eco-design is still important for recycling. We do not produce for recycling, but we have to think about it. So it's a step ahead than 3 years ago already, I confirm.
Exactly, and I think the technologies are evolving so rapidly. You made the point, like I think 2-3 years ago, the biggest conversation was no elastane. All monomaterial, only monomaterial is the only thing that would be possible. As the project went along, even the recycling technologies within the project and outside have developed so much. And I think now we're realizing that actually we can find a sweet spot maybe in between, and that's what eco-design should encourage, right?
Definitely, and I encourage you to look at this technical guidance document. I think it's the report I'm most proud of it, but I only gave input, and Anya and from
Our
Adidas
colleague over there who's waving,
and
she wrote that.
other project members did a really great job to also nicely visualize, because it's not easy to explain how a garment can be composed to be recyclable. So I think they did an amazing job.
And I think as we are nearing the, honestly, I haven't kept track of time, so we're probably nearing the end of time. But I think given that T-Rex was a publicly funded project and, 13 big companies work together, we need to comment on, did you enjoy working together? Did you enjoy working in a project rather than in your silo? And do you think that collaboration is needed for this to continue developing?
Less technical, so I can say that. So no, it was amazing. See these 13 companies combining the know-how and the aim about sharing the know-how to aim to solve the problem and together, and to sometimes I was not technical enough, but I was suggesting, and the suggestions were appreciated. So it was very, very nice to knowing also other kind of companies, because in this T2T topic, we know we cannot do anything by ourselves. We have to work together. This is what we learned, and it's proved by T-Rex. So it was crucial working together. It was we enjoyed it a lot, yes.
Yeah, and I think what happens in the market now confirms this, right? I mean, let's say we were the first ones to put together a consortium. Now you have accelerating circularities, textile recycling group. You have every month there's a new association or group forming together, because it is needed to handle this complexity. It is a highly complex thing, especially if you look at 3 different materials to make this whole system work as a circle. So I think it was very valuable also for BASF. And I'm not sure if we would have published, for example, our feedstock specification or other information without having the need to do so, because we're an old school industry company. And I think it's valuable to publish this information, because the world should know what processes are currently. And this will help and encourage others to work on topics.
And I think you hit on that, right? Like the reason we also chose to do this as a EU public funded project, rather than just building our consortium and staying, quiet or reserved about it, was we didn't want these learnings and this experience to just live within these companies. We wanted to share this with the industry, because at least at Adidas, we have the tagline that circularity is a team sport, which means we're not actually working against each other, we're working with each other to enable this and make this a reality. So yeah, I'm really glad that none of us hate each other after 3 years of intense work. We all really enjoyed work, at least I really enjoyed working together, so.
Amazing.
Well, thank you so much to both of you. Thank you to the amazing audience. I look to Charles, I don't know if we have time for Q&A.
There's definitely time for the Q&A, but more importantly, can I ask the audience to show their appreciation? Because you guys have really opened up T-Rex, and T-Rex now makes a lot more sense, so I'm very grateful. So I'm filling for people to ask questions. And unfortunately, I know people in this audience, and I will call them out by name.
And I just want to mention,
ex-Adidas ones.
I just want to mention we also have some of our other partners, not just Fulger and BASF, in the audience. So
good. Should I take questions from them, or are they going to be too difficult?
I think they're more to your answer.
We're happy to take questions, because you've got the people here who worked in partnership, and it wasn't a job that one brand could do. It took multi-stakeholder cooperation, which is always a pain in the butt, to use the expression. Because if you don't ask a question, I'm going to ask them. So the first thing to throw at you, technology has moved on an awful lot, and Daniela, you really made a good point about that. But it's not moved fast enough. What needs to happen for it to work even better? So what new technology would make your life so easy?
Yeah, I completely agree. We believe that regulations will help me, they, you, to understand how to speed up the process. Because today, how we are currently in the situation that we do not know how to move. It costs more, so how can I move? So I believe regulatories will be great to have soon. And also to share the information that we have that maybe part of you did not know, were not aware about that. So promoting also the technology between the supply chain. Because sometimes they think, wow, it's possible to do it. Yes, today it's possible to do it. So these two topics, I think, are the most developments to be addressed.
Yeah, and I think we need more action, to be honest. So I think as you mentioned earlier, we demonstrated that it's feasible. Let's do it. Impossible is nothing, I mean.
That's our old tagline. Now you got this.
That is a wonderful answer. But we're looking for more questions. Oh, we do have questions. Everyone's sticking their hand up now. We've broken the ice.
Thanks a lot for the introduction. And Tobias, my question is to you. Can you give an idea, the plant that you were mentioning in China, 500 metric tons, is it by input or output? And what is an idea of the yield, if possible?
So it's 500 tons per year capacity output of polyamide 6 chips. And the yield, well, I cannot mention the exact yield, but it is quite high. Usually, I would say chemical recycling technologies have a yield of above 80, in between 80 and 95%. I can confirm that it is in this range, but of course it always depends on the quality of feedstock that you have. Because if you have more impurities, then of course your yield goes down, because at the moment we can currently only recycle the polyamide 6 fraction. Of course, we're interested also into getting value out of the other bicomponents, but that's not the case at the moment.
Thank you for the nice discussion. My name is Momo, and I'm from Sembis, from the Netherlands. We help also companies for prototype or for proof of concept recycling. I have a question. In T-Rex, you worked on mostly chemical recycling or enzymatic. And also, I'm wondering, as a technical question, do you have any approach to do, like in chemical recycling, maybe in mostly for Adidas, for footwear, if you have polyester and TPE as elastic or alternative for Lycra, you can do both together and repolymerize it again, like just as an idea.
So, I mean, within T-Rex, it was a publicly funded project, so we had to set limits. We set it to chemical recycling for apparel. Oh, we're about to get another announcement.
Drishti, I can answer that on polyester behalf. The answer is yes, we can.
Thank you.
We can handle both in a mix. Not a problem. We can also separate them for you if you want.
Thank you.
Hi. A question maybe to the three of you. Tobias, you mentioned that the product, the polymer is more expensive, whatever the percentage is. But at the final product level, at Adidas level, it's only a little bit. Apart from the feedstock availability and the problems of pre-processing, sorting and everything else, to what extent is the fact that at end user level, consumer level, people are maybe not prepared to pay the premium? Is that a real, a major reason why this cannot be scaled? Is it that one of the chicken and egg type of discussion?
Well, circularity is definitely a chicken and egg problem, because you need to have demand, you need to have supply, you need to have raw materials, feedstock waste, you need to have recycling capacities, and so on. So it is a multifaceted chicken and egg problem. To be honest, we don't know. we're a chemical industry company. We don't know about consumers, to be honest.
So that's
okay?
why I said it's the three of you. So I'm looking at
Exactly.
you.
But I just want to say something. You know, I think consumers, me as a consumer, I'm also faced in where do I want to put the money, the extra money, to become something better, to become something more sustainable. So every aspect of our life can be more sustainable. Food, clothes, and I think consumers will likely spend more money on sustainable textiles than a sustainable car component, because it's closer to our heart. It's also something where we define ourselves with. But I guess brands know definitely better.
Yeah, they know more than us. But in my case, talking about the global brands, I see that we have to be part of the education of the consumers. They will not change swift, make the behavior from today to tomorrow. We have to educate them, starting communicate and so on. They are not ready to pay more for a more responsible product. I'm talking about the average. But we have to...
Yeah, education is one.
Yeah.
But if they're not prepared to pay extra, BASF will not invest in building capacity. So it's a chicken and egg thing, unless somebody like at the end, the brand owners, either absorb that little bit in their margin and offer it at the same price. Why would I not buy a recycled, sustainable product at the same quality at the same price?
Yeah, short term you're right. But again, you know, I think with EPR systems upcoming and fees, we get costs down. With upscaling, we get costs down. And let's see what happens else.
Gio, can I ask the question back on you? But it's for the whole audience. If I mention the word eco-modulation, does anyone know what I'm talking about? I'm looking at 2 hands maximum. Look it up. It's the new proposed taxes for the EU Green Deal, which means biopolymers are going to be cheaper than virgin oil products. That's the idea, that virgin oil becomes the most expensive resource. So the strategy is actually there. If this affects you, please contribute to the EU. You all sit here, and I don't want to hear people say, it's terrible what's being imposed on us. Now they are listening to us. If you contribute, they will pay attention. So Fibre 52, I expect a serious paper. But on that note, I'm not seeing any more hands. Can I ask you once again to show your thanks for the 3 on stage who have been really good?
Thank you all so much. And you can access the website and all the deliverables we mentioned on the website.
Brilliant.